What's wrong, Alice?
My parents are gone.
What else is wrong, Alice?
Something's broken.
What's broken, Alice?
I am.
Hey, you remember Alice in Wonderland, right? That quintessential All English story about a young girl who follows a rabbit down a hole and ends up in a magical wonderland? It's quirky and eccentric, and Disney even made a movie out of it.
You can learn a lot of things from the flowers, especially in the month of June.
Well, get ready, because American McGee's Alice ain't that nice and it ain't that quirky. This is a dark and terrible take on Alice in Wonderland, filled with horrors and monstrosities. Take a look for yourself.
Wake up, Dormy. It's time for the tea party. Hush,
I've got one. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Oh dear, oh dear!
You must save Alice.
Wake up, Alice! Wake up!
Mom? Dad? Alice? Mom? Father?
I can't sleep!
Get out, Alice!
Save yourself, Alice! Get out of the house!
Yeah, this is something very different. One night while Alice is older and sleeping, a cat knocks a lantern off a desk and causes a fire that consumes her entire house. She's the lone survivor, her entire family is dead, and she's placed in a 19th century English mental asylum, and that wasn't a happy place to be, let me tell you.
Save us, Alice!
Her psyche is broken and Wonderland is distorted into a hellish psychotic mess. And that's American McGee's Alice, a game that came out on the PC in 2000. You may know it as the predecessor to Alice Madness Returns, or even as the game that launched 1,000 cosplays. But for me, it's always been one of my favourite games, and a shining example of a purely unique vision. I can't say any other game is like it. But anyway, let's travel down the rabbit hole. It's a very creepy looking place. But this version of Alice just looks amazing. The dark hair, the green eyes, the dress and the high boots. No wonder it became so iconic. The Cheshire Cat looks great too.
You've gone quite mangy, Cat, but your grin's a comfort.
And you've picked up a bit of an attitude, still curious and willing to learn, I hope.
Wonderland's become quite strange. How is one to find her way?
As knowing where you're going is preferable to being lost, ask. Rabbit knows a thing or two, and I myself don't need a weather vane to tell which way the wind blows.
I'm playing the HD remake. It makes the game widescreen and improves the textures a bit, otherwise it's mostly unchanged. We're in a place called the Village of the Dune, which mostly acts as a tutorial level. All the residents have been enslaved by the evil Red Queen.
Stir up no trouble, stranger. The Red Queen's agents are ruthless.
I'm not afraid of her or her creatures. Never was, really. You should stand up to them.
Defiance is useless. While the Queen reigns, only death can release us from this misery.
Or her death, I suppose.
Here we find Alice's iconic weapon, the Vorpal Blade. It has a fairly weak standard attack, and you can throw it by right-clicking at the cost of no mana.
Your knife is necessary, but not sufficient. Always collect what's useful. Reject only your ignorance, and you may survive.
Rabbit has shrunk himself down and run through a hole, so we need to find a way to shrink ourselves down too. This kindly old gnome agrees to help us in exchange for finding a key. Along the way we find the next weapon, a pack of cards. They're a basic ranged weapon which takes mana. They're useful in the beginning but not really used later on. We grab the key, return it to him, and he agrees to take us to the school where we can find the shrinking potion.
You have the key. Very resourceful. Rabbit's confidence is not misplaced. He is no fool.
I certainly hope he is not.
We make an emergency landing outside the school. Here we find some of the most common enemies in the game, these ghost reaper things. They get close to you and scream in your face and push you back. They're so annoying because the majority of this game is platforming. It wouldn't be so bad, but the jumping in this game sucks. I hate to say it, but it's just crap. You can only jump in weird fucking angles, like straight up or in an arc. It makes the platforming slow and dull as you have to make a mental note of the range your jump goes. You even slide a little when you land, no matter the surface. It's hard to explain, but you kind of have to pull yourself back in mid-air to prevent it. You get used to it as the game goes on, but given how much of this game involves careful jumping, you'd think they'd try to do a better job of it. But anyway, you can even get a freaky power up that turns you into a demon and gives you a damage boost.
Time to raise some havoc. The dogs of war are loose.
Again, the visuals in this game are astounding and the art direction is amazing. It's slightly unsettling. Inside the school we find the croquet mallet. It's better than the knife and has a decent ranged attack, so we might as well use that from now on. The gnome tells us that we need to find ingredients for the shrinking potion. Ah, the kids look so messed up. This place is obviously an allusion to an old British school, and trust me, they are this bad. Anyway, so we collect the ingredients and bring them back to him. Then we drink the potion and jump through a magical doorway. I think this is one of the most memorable levels in the entire game, and probably one of the most annoying. You run through a garden fighting giant ants dressed in soldier uniforms, plants, mushrooms and other garden life. In one section you have to travel down a stream on a lily pad and it's so annoying. These robotic ladybirds drop bombs on you while you go down, and if you fall off then you get attacked by a piranha. You're just fighting the controls so much on this level and it seems to go on forever. What? I didn't even know that was possible! But despite the controls, it's so interesting to watch and experience. You don't get games like this nowadays. You never know what you're going to see. It's like you're generally inside Wonderland and you're gawking at the game's oddity and uniqueness. Oh, what's this? The mock turtle wants us to get his shell back, and in exchange he'll tell us where the caterpillar is hiding. He can help us find Rabbit.
No, my shell! The Duchess stole it and tried to eat me for lunch. Nobility must be served, I suppose.
Stop that railing, won't you?
You're very cold-blooded for a mammal. I was almost soup.
Tragic, I'm sure, but I'm a bit pressed for time. Have you seen a rabbit?
Oh, cool, so there's a boss fight coming up. This game has boss fights? Yeah, why not? Oh my god, it suddenly turned into a horror. This is fucking scary. Ah, those graphics, that face. There's something about early 3D graphics which honestly terrifies me. It's the textures or the lighting or the confined areas that save space, I don't know. But we got a new weapon. It's a jack-in-a-box which spouts fire. It's fairly useless, I find. 10 times I've beaten this game throughout my life and I still have no idea what the boss tactics are. I just throw everything and run around until she's dead. I honestly don't even know what's going on. But anyway, we got the mock turtle shell back. So we go for a lovely little swim and what the and we part ways. Hey, we found Rabbit. And the Mad Hatter kills him.
Everyone I love dies violently. Unnaturally. I'm cursed. Why go on? I'll just hurt others.
No time for self-pity. Evade these savage soldiers and find Caterpillar.
Pretty sad. The voice acting in this game is so good though, especially Alice. You really feel the emotion in her voice. In fact, this game may be my favourite portrayal of her in any media. She's strong-willed, quick-witted and has that English charm. It's an amazing representation of the Cheshire Cat too. He's always there to guide you along the game and he'll even pop up to give you a hint if you press the right key. Honestly, the characters are so rich and interesting that it elevates this game to another level, despite my gripes with the controls. Anyway, we still need to find the caterpillar. We go underground while the Mad Hatter tries to stomp us. The level design is so strange. I can describe it, but it's hard to do it justice. It's unlike any other game I've ever played and I love it. Every level is linear, but they're so confusing. Honestly, I don't think American McGee's Alice was created by amazing gaming experts, and a lot of people would find it frustrating, but it's the craziness and randomness that I enjoy. That is what makes it like a Wonderland. Everything just changes randomly for no reason. What? An ice level? Why is there an ice level all of a sudden? Oh, this is terrible. A horrible jumping mixed with terrible slippery ice physics. Oh, the ice wand. This is literally the best weapon in the game in my opinion, and it kind of makes all the other weapons invalid. Left click shoots out an ice spray in front of you. It's just by far the easiest way to kill enemies. What the fuck? So we escape and find Caterpillar. He tells us a little about our situation.
I barely recognise this terrible place. What is it to me?
It's home. Well, it could be. Having lost what you loved, you nearly wiped us out. You've started to rebuild. Your task, however, and your pain are not over.
Why must I suffer?
Because your mind is fouled by self-deception. Even your fantasies have fragmented into tortured versions of themselves. You are racked with guilt because you survived, and you dread the prospect of a life alone.
Basically, Wonderland has gone to hell because of our frayed psyche, so we need to destroy the Queen of Hearts to regain our sanity. But first, we got to get back to normal size, which means... fighting a giant centipede. Again, this is fucking terrifying. The look on his face, the background music. Also, this fight sucks. This is the worst boss fight in the game. This time I do know the tactics. Once he's done spitting ranged attacks at you, we'll try to get in melee range. If you get close enough, sometimes he'll lift his body up to expose a weak point. However, it seems completely random whenever he'll do this, and instead he'll occasionally speed up and ram into you, which you can't dodge because you're so close. There's no logic to this fight. It's random whether he'll expose his weak point or just slam into you for 40% of your health. All you can really do is quick save after every successful attack. It's cheap, but so is the fight. Anyway, we kill him, we eat the mushroom, and we regain our normal size. Next level. This part is a little strange because now we're in a kind of hub world leading to different levels. Why? The entire game has had logical linear connections up until this point, and now they just decide to put us in a hub world. It's like a lava zone too, and again why? We were literally just in a forest and somehow growing larger transported us to a lava zone. Strange. Oh well, it's part of the game's charm, I guess. There's an item in the middle called the Jabberwocky Eye Star, but we don't have all the parts to it yet, so at the moment it's useless. An oracle tells us we need to assemble the staff to get to the Red Queen, but to do so we'll also need to kill the Jabberwocky. We jump along to the Looking Glass land.
Since you know the moves, best play with whites. They go first.
Such order in the midst of chaos makes me woozy and disoriented.
The regularity of the board disguises the predatory menace of certain pieces.
It's a really pretty looking place. Oh god, how does this work? How do these pieces move? This is the second game I've talked about now where you need some kind of knowledge of chess in order to advance. Damn. How does this always become a requirement? Alright, so the red pieces are trying to behead the White Queen and we need to save her. White lives matter, you know? I love the attention to detail. In the White Castle there's classic illustrations from the original book and pictures of Lewis Carroll. Oh, he's the king.
Free the White Queen, Alice. That would help us both.
I'm not really a player. What are the rules?
Rules? There are no rules. There's barely any strategy. No time. Make a frontal assault on the Red Castle. I won't lie to you. You'll meet deadly traps and fierce opposition along the way.
Alright, so now we're in the Red Kingdom. Oh damn, we're too late. Oh, another boss fight? Okay. This is insanely easy, there's no tactics, nothing. Honestly, there's very little rise in difficulty in this game. Some levels are hard, some aren't. Some bosses are, some aren't. It wasn't made by amazing game programmers, let's just be honest. That's not where this game's selling point lies. Anyway, so somehow the Queen is back alive. Does that happen in chess? I don't know. What the fuck? The Mad Hatter just appears and takes us to the next level. It makes no sense. I hate this level, I hate it. It's not badly designed or anything, in fact it's pretty good, but it gave me so many nightmares when I was younger, playing this game at night on an old beat up computer. But like I said, there's something about older 3D graphics and tight corners which really unsettles me. The mirrors are freaky and there are screaming mental children everywhere, enemies burst out of walls and it's just horrible. This level literally unsettles me so much that I almost didn't make this video just because I didn't want to replay it. Even the background music makes me anxious. No, I bugged the game out and I can't proceed. No, I'll have to play it over again from the beginning. No! Oh, thank God, a boss fight. I'm almost relieved.
Look, Dom, it's what's-her-name from the neurotics ward. Nurse's favourite lunatic. Oh yeah? Scrawny, ain't she? Who let her out then? They'll blame us, most like. She'll need more medicine. Strong medicine. She got anything to eat? Doubt it. She never finishes the grub at the asylum. If she had any meat on her, she'd make a delectable dish.
Despicable, grotesque and smelly louts. I'll fill your bellies all right.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Spare me the platitude. Do you have any useful advice?
Use their size against them.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum represent the wardens in Alice's asylum. I picked up a new weapon, throwing jacks. Most of the weapons are based around old British toys. They're decent, you throw them for small mana and they do tick damage. This boss is pretty easy too. Oh, it's the Mad Hatter.
Bad timing. Pity. Reliable help is so hard to find these days. Come in, my dear. You're just in time for tea.
I only take mine with friends.
Count me to be among them. Accurately, I mean honestly, that's the truth. Oh, I quite forgot. You and the truth are not on familiar terms.
And you would know?
Truth is always bitter to those who fear it.
I fear nothing.
False! You fear much. A return trip to the asylum, for example. The memories that drove you there. More years in, shall we say, supervised hospitalization. Ah, yes. You fear much. Of course, all that might be avoided.
How? Tell me, what do you mean?
The next level is pretty much more of the same, equally terrifying and creepy. Oh, Jesus Christ, what is this?
Stormy, wake up! Someone's come to release us! It's just a human. Probably useless. Undo us, please, from this contraption. Or you could give us tea if you'd prefer.
Were you impolite at table? Did you slap your tea? Or talk while chewing? Confess your crime.
We've done nothing of the kind. It's the Hatter. He's gone quite mad, if I do say so. Speaking of which, how is the Queen of Hearts not like a typhoon?
Both are powerful, destructive, and indiscriminately cruel. But the typhoon doesn't mean to be.
Good answer. Wrong, but good.
Yeah, I'm beginning to remember why I had so many nightmares. This is incredibly disturbing, probably the most disturbing imagery in the entire game. The Dormouse and Hare have had their bodies mutilated. The Griffin can tell us a little bit more though.
Those two seem to barely comprehend their situation.
They're blithering idiots. But the Hatter does come at 6 on the dot.
For his tea?
No. To check his cruel experiments. With gears, springs, levers, and mechanical gizzards, he seeks an impossible precision. Like a watchmaker obsessed with infinitesimal fractions of seconds, or a mathematician who tries to square the circle. He'll turn all the inhabitants into his automatons, or kill them in the attempt.
That's simply awful. 6 o'clock, you say?
6 precisely, by that clock.
Perhaps 6 comes early today.
Alright, let's get down to it. Again, it's a pretty easy fight, except this time he sends out waves of minions. It's a very cool boss stage though. We beat him, grab a new item, the stopwatch. It stops time. It's really good, but I don't really struggle to kill generic enemies, so I rarely use it. We free the Griffin and he tells us to muster the troops and get ready to confront the Jabberwocky.
With gratitude, I offer you my services.
Promise only what you're prepared to deliver. I am destined to battle the Red Queen. The outcome is uncertain.
You won't fight alone. Permit me to serve as your commander. I'll muster the forces whose allegiance your courage and skill have already won.
There's not much to say here, just a lot of annoying platforming jumping from tiny column to tiny column. If you fall in the lava you're dead almost immediately. You don't even get a chance to jump back out. The Oracle turns out to be a caterpillar. What a pointless twist. He just reiterates that we have to kill the Jabberwocky, so let's get down to it.
You've kept me waiting, Alice. Have you never heard that punctuality is a virtue?
You and my dentist's assistant have much in common.
You're habitually late, aren't you? Between your dim-witted daydreaming and your preening vanity, the hours just fly by. There's barely time for anything else.
That the best you can do? Hurl second-rate insults, they don't hurt.
Your family was expecting you to come to them, weren't they? Perhaps they thought you might warn them of the danger, being close to the source as you were. But they waited in vain, didn't they? And died for their trouble.
We were all asleep. It was an accident.
Selfish, misbegotten, and unnatural child. You smelled the smoke, but you were in dreamland taking tea with your friends. You couldn't be bothered. Your room was protected and spared, while your family upstairs roasted in an inferno of incredible horror.
It's a pretty difficult and brutal fight, but Griffin ends it before we get completely slaughtered. So now we have his eye, we can assemble the staff, and it's insanely powerful. I take it back, this is the best weapon. Left click fires out an incredibly powerful beam that ends in a huge explosion, while right click showers the screen with falling bombs. It's fun and everything, it's supposed to give the player a sense of power and it works, but I wish we had gotten it a little bit later. There's quite a lot of this game left to go and it's just made all the other weapons invalid. There's barely any reason to switch to anything else now and we already had that problem with the ice staff, so the variety of combat suffers a little bit. Anyway, that's only a minor gripe. Let's break open this wall and get to the Red Queen.
Only the Jabberwock's eye staff can pry them open.
This level is hated by quite a few people. It's a maze filled with puzzles and strong enemies that go on for quite a while. It's not that bad, I quite like it. Oh, this is cool though, a whole massive room dedicated to platforming with very few enemies to annoy you. This is insanely fun, visually interesting and all around enjoyable. The platforming works here because the areas you'll jump into are fairly large and spaced out enough that jumping in an arc is necessary. There's no little platform surrounded by fire that you need to fight the controls on. Good thing you can't see up her skirt too. Alright, some more of the maze stuff, some little swimming sections and puzzles. There's an item here, a mirror that turns you invisible, and it's the only one of its kind I've found in the entire game. It's utterly pointless, it is not needed to complete the level and has minimal benefit where it's located. I think the developers just started making it, threw it in the game and then just decided to do something different. So strange. The next level has a pretty interesting water section where you need to raise the water levels and navigate through sewer pipes. Then we're on to the next part, we're getting closer. There's some long winding outdoor segments intermixed with some tight indoor segments. The game is coming to its own here and these are by far the best designed levels. I love running and jumping around inside this huge mass of clockwork. The statues and little details are really cool too.
Time to jump in, time to jump through time. I'm dizzy.
Wow, there's even more. Again, another great idea. Doing something interesting with the platforming by forcing the players to deal with constantly rotating platforms and moving levels. It still feels good with the limitations of the jumping physics because the columns are large. The designers obviously began to see what was working and what wasn't by the time they got here. I've never seen a level like this in any platforming game, it's so amazing. But now it's time for the real Jabberwocky fight. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. There's some really strange, almost Japanese anime-like cutscenes here, it's odd. The boss fight is really difficult and probably one of the better designed ones. It's not quite fair, none of them are, but it's fun and overall enjoyable at least.
You've destroyed her guardian, Alice, and avenged my death. Enter the ultimate battle.
Must I fight on? Can't the Red Queen be persuaded to surrender?
True words and logic rarely defeat evil intent. She is still strong, and so many have been harmed. They want revenge, which we call justice. She made this world, and she must pay. You must lead our forces against her.
I'm not sure I know how to lead.
Do your best, Alice. You can only do your best. You can always do best.
I always remember this scene as well. It somehow carries a lot of emotion even though we don't know much about the Griffin character. Alice is obviously going through increasing mental strain the closer she gets to the Red Queen, and the player is really rooting for her at this point. I've always remembered the last sentence too and thought about it during difficult times in my life despite its relative simplicity. Do your best. You can only do your best. You can always do best. It's just something about it. We enter the Red Queen's domain and see some of our allies fighting her forces. There's not too much to say here, there's just a lot of fighting, a lot of not so good platforming, and the layout of this level is pretty confusing. There's another power up here that, as far as I know, only appears in this part of the game. It turns Alice into a giant cricket, allowing her to jump really high and over long distances. It's cool, but garbage. It's more like turning on a cheat code than getting a power up. You can't control anything, you just go zooming about the screen. No idea why they decided to put this here in such a tightly closed space either. Oh, here we go, into the Queen's Palace. I absolutely love the design and artwork. This red, flesh-covered place with streaming pools of blood. There's a little puzzle to open the final door. You pull a lever and it reflects a painting of a boss. Inside the mirror you see a symbol. You backtrack to the door of the corresponding symbol and throw your knife at the boss it represents. It's pretty pointless and wastes time. I don't know why it's here. We get one last pep talk from our favourite companion, the Cheshire Cat.
Bravery and I are not on intimate terms. My natural curiosity is tempered with caution. Thus I've lived long. But now, ignoring my instinct to flee or fib, I speak the truth without regard to consequence. Your courage deserves no less. You've suffered great pain, and you've caused some. You've endured deep grief and feelings of guilt, but you will be tested by a more wrenching anguish, Alice. There is worse to come. You and this Red Queen cannot both survive. You are two parts of the same...
Wow, that was really startling, I wasn't expecting that. But I don't know why they didn't devote a bigger scene to it since he's been our friend and mentor throughout the entire game. This should be the most emotional scene in the game, but it happens literally seconds before we encounter the final boss. Presumably Alice's Wonderland friends dying the closer she gets to the Red Queen symbolises her struggle with confronting her guilt and depression over the fire. It works, but I just wish the Cheshire Cat's death had a longer and larger role. And I don't know about you, but the first time I saw that cutscene I jumped out of the seat. I was not expecting that at all, or the scream as he died. It was like a jump scare. Oh well, here goes nothing, time to kick some ass.
Who am I?
Off with her head.
This fight is fairly difficult, not quite as bad as the Jabberwocky fight. You have to dodge her long range attack behind the pillars, but if you stay too long in one area she'll pick you up with telekinesis and wrap her tentacles around you. Luckily we beat her.
I rule Wonderland alone. Your interference will not be tolerated. This realm is for grown-ups.
Raw, well-ordered, ruthless, careening on the jagged edge of reality. Self-pitying dreamers are not wanted here. They cannot survive here. You fear the truth. You live in shadows. Your pathetic attempts to reclaim your sanity have failed. Retreat to the sterile safety of your self-delusions, or risk inevitable annihilation. If you destroy me, you destroy yourself. Leave now, and some hollow part of you may survive. Stay, and I will break you down. You will lose yourself forever!
Oh my god, I knew that couldn't be the final boss, it was just too tame. This is terrifying though, it's like being in hell. You're fighting this gigantic tentacle monstrosity while jumping between floating rocks. You can see fire spewing from the top of her head. Just throw everything at her and try to survive until she goes down. A little bit of a come down though, because this fight is actually easier than the one before. Oh well, it's fun and stunning. Let's blow this bitch and regain our sanity. What a lovely ending to such a bleak game. Alice has overcome her guilt, her loss, her feelings of depression. She's regained her sanity and with it Wonderland. Her friends and Psyche are back and she's left the Rutledge Asylum to go on to greener pastures. Maybe you're thinking that ending is a little too happy, a little too Disney given the atmosphere of the game so far. But I think it's good. Us, as players, wanted some good resolution. And keep in mind, Alice is still a young girl here, and American McGee is trying to canonically link it to the original children's story. So that's the game. It's been one of my top favourites for the past 15 years. I really think Alice is the shining example of a strong female protagonist that went overlooked by the mainstream gaming media. It's completely her own story. She's strong-willed and she overcomes a lot. Anybody who's ever suffered with any kind of grief, sadness or mental illness can immediately identify with the game. The characters are just amazing too. And the levels are just so strange and stunning and weird that it reminds me of the golden age of PC gaming. You just rarely ever see this kind of uniqueness anymore, even if design wise there's a lot of problems. Unfortunately the sequel just kind of wipes out the entire character arc of this game. I seem to be the only person annoyed by that. There's a lot to say about American McGee, but I think I'll have to leave that to another video if I ever talk about the sequel. If you want me to ever talk about the sequel, that is. Anyway, thanks mate, please share this video, like etc if you enjoyed it. I really have no other way of advertising this little channel. You can check out another video of mine if you enjoyed this, or give me recommendations for stuff to play in the comments. See ya!